כי יש מרשעת אל ישמרני, כי יש מרשעת אל ישמרני, אותי לעולמי יד בינו וביני, אותי לעולמי יד בינו וביני, כי יש מרשעת אל ישמרני, כי יש מרשעת אל ישמרני, אותי לעולמי יד בינו וביני, אותי לעולמי יד בינו וביני.
Once again, Shabbat Shalom. It is wonderful for all of us to be together, for all of us to embrace Shabbat, especially this is Shabbat Bereshit, the very beginning of the book of Bereshit, the Shabbat of creation, and we are creating community together on this Shabbat of creation as well. We are going to continue together with Dodi Lee on page 129 as we are reminded from the Song of Songs that idea of I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine.
Dodi Lee ואני לא הרואה בשושנים, דודי לי מסוד עולה מן המדבר, מסוד עולה מן המדבר. דודי לי ואני לא הרואה בשושנים, דודי לי מקוטרת מור, מור ולבונה, מקוטרת מור ולבונה. דודי לי ואני לא הרואה בשושנים, דודי לי, דודי לי.
It is my pleasure at this time to invite up our bat mitzvah this weekend, Yael, joined by her mother, Simone, and her grandmothers, Simona and Zibella, to come to our bima to help us light candles for Shabbat. Yes, that's you.
To go to the candles.
אני מדליקה עם זה, כן?
We first light the candles. We light the candles and then we'll say the blessing.
Ah, er.
Nein, du erst anzünden.
Ja,
Und dann sagen.
okay.
Here we go. And this is particularly a wonderful opportunity to light Shabbat candles because it's the Shabbat of Bereshit, of Let There Be Light.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom Mevorach. Be seated. Shabbos and Mazal Tov. We will now continue our service on page 130. Lechu neranena. We welcome, we move toward welcoming Shabbat. Lechu neranena. Ladonai nariya letzur. Isheinu nekadma fanav. בתודה בזמירות נהריה לו מקדמה פניו בתודה בזמירות נהריה לו שירו לאדוני שיר חדש שירו לאדוני כל הארץ שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו ספרו אלוהים כבודו בכל העמים נפלאותיו יאללה לי 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 Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la. It was on. It might be turning off all the time. Thank you. Is my guitar on now? Am I back? I'm really back, yes, strongly back. Okay, thank you very much for the help. And you know, I think that that's part of the idea of Shabbat, to turn on different things that we don't use that much, and to let go of the things that keep us busy during the week, to create the space, the freedom, to occupy ourselves with other things. And as we do that, I invite you to turn your Sidurim to page 134, as we allow each of these melodies, each of these poems, these psalms, to become a stairway that help us enter a different dimension, a space in time. We're on page 134 for Samru Ladonai.
Samru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, b'chatzotzot vekol shofar, hariyu לפני המלך אדוני. ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה, עיני נהרות, עמך וכף יחד, הרים ירננו. לפני אדוני כי בא לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל וצדק בימים במישרים. ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה, עיני נהרות, עמך וכף יחד, הרים ירננו. יחד, הרים ירננו. We turn our Sidurim to page 136 for Mismor LeDavid, Psalm 29. Mismor LeDavid, אבו לאדוני ונהלים. מזמור לדוד, אבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. אבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. אבו לאדוני כבוד שמו. אבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. אבו לאדוני כבוד שמו. היי, יאי די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די די די, יאי די די די, יאי די 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 די, אדוני יוס, למו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, אדוני יוס. למו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. היי, יאי די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, אדוני יוס, למו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, אדוני יוס, למו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. It is at the center of our Kabbalat Shabbat, the poem Lecha Dodi, poem that was written in Sfat in the 16th century by a group of Jews trying to reconnect with Jewish tradition. And I keep saying this because Kabbalat Shabbat, the celebration of Shabbat the way we do, is an attempt to connect with our spirits. And sometimes in order to do that, you get to move. You need to challenge traditions. You need to renew. Or to learn something new. And we were thinking, by the way, we is me. I was thinking.
We were supporting
Rabbi PJ knew, but Rabbi PJ will be learning this melody as well. So
we were supporting the me.
yes, thank you, Rabbi. So we're thinking together. We actually discussed this in advance. There's a great opportunity after the High Holidays, as we start Parashat Bereshit, to learn a new melody for Lecha Dodi. And and we chose this melody because it's from Eastern Europe. I know the family of Yael comes from someplace, Romania, Germania, Germany, is close enough. And so this is an Eastern European melody. And it has a little bit of a language challenge. And I want to try this with you. It goes like this. Lecha Dodi, try this. Lecha Dodi. It's a Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi. Likrat kala, likrat kala. And here it gets interesting. Yara la 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 la. Yara la 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 la. Pnei Shabbat nekavla. Yara la 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 la. Pnei Shabbat nekavla. Hai lecha dodi. Likrat kala, yara la 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 la, pnei Shabbat nekavla. You got this. And then the verse is with the words that you are familiar with, and it's very repetitive, so it doesn't need to be taught. After 5 times, you'll get it. So let's try once again the chorus, and then we're gonna enter the verses. We sing the first, the second, the fifth, the sixth, and the ninth verses of Lecha Dodi. By the ninth one, we will invite you to rise and to turn toward the door of the synagogue, as we will imagine the presence of the bride, of the queen of Shabbos, entering this space. Let's try it again. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, Ya la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה היי לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה
שמעו וזכו בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם לתפארת ולתהילה
היי 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה היי לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונעלך כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה איי 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה היי לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך ומאורי אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה איי 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה היי לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקהלמי מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי מה יחסו עניי עמי ונבנתה הרלתי לה איי 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה היי לך דודי לקראת כלה please rise יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום התרד והלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמוניהם עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה איי 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 לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה יא la 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 לפני שבת נקבלה Good Shabbos everyone, Shabbat Shalom. We have welcome Shabbat and we take a moment to welcome each other. We invite you to go around to say good Shabbos. Yes, stand on your legs and take these opportunities to say Shabbat Shalom to each other for one moment. Play something. Play something. It's turning off, I told you. I was playing on and off and it's not working.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat
I
shalom.
was playing because it wasn't...
What? Ah. No.
Okay.
But I sang. But
What? Yeah, you have lots of plans. It's a nice recording.
will now turn our Sidurim to page 140. One more song for Shabbat. Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat. Mizmor Shir, 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 Shir Yom HaShabbat. We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 144 for Chetzi Kaddish as we transition between Kabbalat Shabbat, the welcoming of Shabbat, and the evening service of Shabbat.
Yit Gadol ve'yit Hadash Shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divera kirute ve'amlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei kol bet Yisrael. Ba'agala, uvizman kariv, ve'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevara, le'al amul al me'amaya, yitbarach, ve'yishtabach, ve'yitpa'ar, ve'yitromam, ve'yitnaseh, ve'yithadar, ve'yityaleh, ve'yithalal, shmei dekudesh abrihu. Le'elam min kol birchata ve'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata da'amira be'alma ve'imeru. Amen.
We now turn our Sidurim to page 146 for Baruch. Please rise. Ay, ay, yada, lai, 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 lai. Yada, lai, 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 lai. Yada, lai, lai, lai. Yada, lai, yada, lai, 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 lai. Yada, lai, 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 lai. Yada, lai, lai, lai. Who is the blessing before the Shema, before we acknowledge the unity of God? We make sure that we have a minyan, that we have a community, and that in our diversity, in the variety of our community, we represent the unity of God. Baruch et Adonai, Yadalai, Dai, Dalai, Ahamevorach. Baruch Adonai, Ahamevorach, Leolam Vaed. Dai, 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 dai. Yada lai 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 la lai, yada lai 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 la lai, yada lai lai lai.
Please be seated. Page 148, we read, Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, who skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. Everlasting love you offer your people Israel by teaching us Torah, mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lay down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws, on your commandments. Toward the Shema, we try to think about legacies of love. I'd like to invite you for one moment to close your eyes and to try to capture the picture, the image, the idea of what everlasting love, unconditional love, feels like to you in your life. It might be a memory, it might be a place, it might be the loving eyes of a beloved person. Try to let the light of that love surround us as the majestic presence, embrace of a talit. When we are surrounded by that love, by that light, we breathe it in. We take it in and we exhale all the things that don't belong to us. We inhale light and we let go as we exhale of the things that we recognize that we don't need to carry in our system. Once again, I invite you to take a deep breath and to become one. באהבתך, אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Dear God, never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel. We are on page 152 for the Shema. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uv'shoftecha uv'kumecha, ugshortam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני Adonai
Elohechem emet. Adonai Elohechem emet. אמת באמונה כל סוד וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. As we turn our Siurim to page 158, we take a moment to recognize that there is always a Red Sea in our lives, that there is always a narrow place in Egypt, that we are challenged and that we are invited to leave behind. And it is always difficult to make the first step forward. As we sing the words of Birkat HaGeolah, the blessing for redemption, Michamocha, I invite you to think about your obstacles, those that you need to recognize, face, and step forward as we move forward in our journeys with faith. מי כמוך בנים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות הספלת, נורא תהילות הספלת, היי לי מלכותך רעובה לך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, הללי, היי לי מלכותך רעובה לך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, אוי זה אלינו ואמרו. בנמל אדוני, כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חסק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. As we get closer to Tfilat Amidah in the evening service, we think about our inner peace. We think about the ability to create a shelter of peace within our hearts. We're on page 160 for Ashkiveinu. Ashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'amidenu שומרנו לחיים, השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו שלום ואתה והעולם. השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני,
אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over the holy city, the city of Shalom, Yerushalayim. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת. It is a covenant to keep Shabbat as a part of our lives and to let Shabbat keep us alive. We now turn our Sidurim to page 164 for Tfilat Amidah. And as we enter this section of our service, we invite you to follow along the words of our tradition, or alternatively to try to find your Tfilah Shebalev, your prayer of your heart. Please rise as we turn toward Yerushalayim, our eternal capital. Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. הגיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים מתים את הרב להושיע, ואשיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. אתה קידש בקשר הזו, אתה אדוני האל הקדוש, אתה קידשת את יום השביעי לשכם. אלוהינו ולאבותינו, זמין חטאנו כאשר מיסודך ותנאי אלוהינו. מקדש השבת. רצה נא אלוהינו, חתם בבתי כבודי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך. פתח סילינו עינינו שוחה לציון ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני מחזיר שנתו לציון. מודים אנחנו לך שאתה עונה אלוהינו ולאבותינו, אמותינו גם בהם. זכור חיינו מגן שאין להודות. שלום רב על ישראל, עמך תשים לעולם. We see that ולרצון אמרי פי והגיון לבי לפניך אדוני צורי בגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Say shalom bimromav, the one who makes peace in the high heavens. Make peace for us, for all Israel, and for all who inhabit the earth. And let us say,
Amen.
at this point, we take a moment to acknowledge those in our community that are dealing with illness. We think of those dealing with illness in their bodies. We think of those dealing with illness in their souls. We think of those carrying grief. And so we think of those dealing with addictions. If you have a name that you'd like to share in this Erev Shabbat, I invite you to do so as we look in your direction.
Richard Kennemer, Jack Long, Don Gringorton, Bruce Roberts, Stuart Mass, Mira Engel, Howard Levine, Alfreda Mastman, Diane Siegel, Francine Pack, Jill Becker, Gail Frankel, Melanie Weil, Ed Stein, Stu Baker, Jeff Young, Dave Saul, Larry Krasnow, Lonnie Goldman, Beth Sidlow Mann, Richard Ravitch, former member of Shir Hadash, Lauren Janovich, cousin of Joyce Bodek, Edna Stone, mother of Eric Stone, Adam Kaufman, Lillian Murad, mother of Tufik Murad, and Ian Ballard, friend of Allison Turner. Page 371.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We wish to all of you, to all of them, to all of us, רפואה שלמה, החלמה מהירה, a complete healing, a complete healing of spirit and body, and let us say,
Amen.
So we are starting an additional cycle of Torah reading. We are starting once again the book of Genesis. Now, Parashat Bereshit, this Torah portion, is filled with fantastic stories. Some of the most important stories in our tradition come from this Torah portion. And I want to take a moment to think about a very specific moment that is described in our Torah portion. But beforehand, if you think for a moment about the book of Genesis, like, what's the nature of this book? Like, what is, if you need to say, this is a book about what? Creation. Well, the name is creation. The creation of what? Creation of? The creation of the world, the creation of humanity. And what else? The Jewish people, well, it will start to kind of develop monotheism, or when we trace it back, yes, you could say that the Jewish people as a people appears in this book. We start thinking of ourselves as a people only in the book of Exodus, but during the book of Genesis, we do think of ourselves as a family, and most scholars will say that Judaism, even though we don't use that name, starts with Abraham and Sarah. Now, I always like to ask, who is the first one that calls us a people? Pharaoh. Pharaoh, the first character that says that we are a people is not how we define ourselves, because until the book of Exodus, we define ourselves as a family. Pharaoh is the first one who says in the book of Exodus, these people, the Jews, like this guy, these people is growing too much in our midst. Let's take care of it, right? So, and then from that moment on, several people have said that. Now, if you need to define this in some
literature style, it would be? It's a narrative, Rabbi. You're absolutely right. It's a storybook. Thank you for coming, Rabbi. It's a storybook. Like the book of Genesis, the start, there was a time. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim bet haaretz. In the beginning, there was a time in which God created the world. And the first part of the book is the description of the days of creation. And I will take this back at some point. After every single day of creation, we hear that we hear that only once. And it's about Tuesday. And if after Monday not being good at all, there was nothing said about Monday. And maybe God didn't like Monday either. But, but as a matter of fact, we have good, silence, and then very good, and then good, good, good. Now, all of a sudden, we meet. It's a bit more complicated than this, but because it's a story, we're going to make a shortcut. We meet these two emblematic characters, Adam and Eve, and they live in a garden. It's not a normal garden. It's not even a very invested garden with good sound and some fancy arrangements. It's literally paradise. It's an ideal garden with rivers and fruits and all the possible things that you can imagine. Everything is in that garden because once again, it's an ideal garden. And then something happens. They eat from one of the trees, and we don't know. And I will talk about that tomorrow a little bit in Torah study. We don't know exactly what happens if the big deal is that they ate from the tree or what they did after eating from the tree. But what we know is that from the moment in which the tree thing happened, the garden stopped from being ideal. All of a sudden, there was strife. All of a sudden, they started to blame each other. There was immaturity and lack of responsibility and guilt and shame and self-awareness that wasn't the best kind of self-awareness because really, really, it was connected to embarrassment. As a matter of fact, the word embarrassment, busha, in Hebrew, shares its root with the word levush, with clothes. All of a sudden, they realized that they are naked. But nakedness is not necessarily a problem. Being exposed in a way that you don't feel comfortable with yourself, that's a problem. And that's what they're really experiencing. All of a sudden, they realize that this garden is not ideal anymore. And more than that, they are kicked out of this garden. They are expulsed from this garden. Now, an interesting thing is that the Garden of Eden is compared in our tradition with a maternal womb. And as a matter of fact, some will say that life will only start once we leave that place. And here are Adam and Eve with the big task of being out of the maternal womb, out of paradise, with the task of figuring out where to live. They're homeless. They're spiritual homeless. And they need to build their own garden. Now it's a big challenge. And they start working on that. And an interesting thing that happens is that to some extent, That's the story of our lives. The work toward building a garden. We don't live in ideal gardens. We don't live in paradise. Our lives don't look like paradise. Our lives most of the time look like messy gardens. They are filled with a variety of experiences. And the task is not to build the ideal garden, because as a matter of fact, life actually doesn't happen in paradise. It doesn't happen in the ideal garden. It happens in the real garden, in the one that we are supposed to nurture and build. Now, an interesting thing in that context is that once we start building our garden, is that we can conclude our days and say, this is actually good. You can say, okay, I did something today. It is good. But the determination that something is good comes only after doing something. Now, God finished the first day of creation and only then say that it was good. God didn't say in advance, I'm going to do something that's great. I'm going to make this great. And then he said that he was going to do something, have a plan. That's not how the Bible starts off. God actually goes, builds something, takes a look at that and says, okay, this was good. Now, then he puts two humans, or they put two humans in this ideal garden and say, go out. Now go, build your garden, and once you have done something, then try to figure out if that's good or not. Now the problem is that sometimes we go to sleep and we can't necessarily say that our actions, what we did, is good. Do you strive to find goodness in your actions here and there? Well, you should. You should find goodness in your actions. I'm sure that most of us do lots of good things. But the story of our lives is not to go back to an ideal garden, actually to build, once again, a real garden. A garden that once we conclude our days, we can say, this is good. This is good. Why? Because I tried my best. I did well. I was committed. Now, there's an interesting theme referring to Genesis chapter 1, the 3rd verse. And God said, let there be light. The Berditchev rabbi used to say, why do we pray every morning, creator of light, maker of darkness? You will sing it tomorrow morning, Yael. In the present tense, instead of Borei Or, Yotzer Choshech. In present tense. Who created light and made darkness in the past. Why don't we use the past tense? Says the Berditchev rabbi, because the process of creation is constant and has not been interrupted even for an instant from the creation of the world to the present day. This is what we mean in the Pre Shema Israel blessings in the morning when we say, he who renews with his kindness every day his work of creation. Rabbi Aaron the Karlin added, just as the Creator, hallowed by his name, renews his work of creation with his kindness every day, so we must renew something every day of our lives. And maybe that something is our willingness to build our own garden. If we struggle to attach the word good to our work today, to our actions today, the good news is that the creation is not an event, but rather an ongoing process in constant renewal for the sake of giving us the opportunity to build not an ideal garden, but something even better, which is actually our garden. Our garden is always better than an ideal garden. The one that we nurture, the one that we build. Dear friends, as we start a new cycle of Torah reading and study, I want to wish to all of us to experience the kindness of the renewal of creating,
ובטובו מחדש בכל יום תמיד מעשה בראשית. And to להיות זכאים, to have the privilege to finish many days this year with the ability, with the opportunity to reflect on our actions and to say that it was good. It was good. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach. We will continue our service on page 588. If you are under the age of 18 years old, we invite you to join Rabbi PJ on opening the ark for Be'ah Shebota. Please rise as we do so. Be'ah Shebota. אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, והשבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. We'll now close the ark. We'll very carefully close the doors. You may be seated. We'll now take a moment to acknowledge mourners among our community. If you are during the first 7 days of mourning Shiva, please rise. If you are during the first 30 days of mourning Shloshim, please rise. If you are during the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise. And share with us who you're remembering. If you have a yahrzeit this week, the anniversary of someone's passing by this time of the year, in years past, please rise and share with us who you're remembering.
Our congregation offers its condolences to Marty Silverman on the death of his mother, Marilyn Silverman, Beth Baker on the death of her father, and Kim Gomez on the death of her grandfather, Abraham Karras, to Darwin Myers on the death of his brother, Robert Bruce Myers, and to Lori Chaikin on the death of her father, Dr. Norman Green. We also add Paulette Sofin, Leslie Heijnel, David Green, Jeannie Porish, Estelle Abrams, Spencer Canny, Arthur Cherdak, John Leveritz, Marilyn Handelman, Kay Damron, Nira Marome, Ziba Faruzan, Rosella Newton, Linda Sherry, Fred DeCastro, Sherry Skian, Larry Eisen, Harry Gross, Michael Taub, David Schwartz, Rhoda Fryman, Eliad Foner Lipsitz, Ron Wolk, Adina Neer, Tamara Noten, Mimi Levy, James C. Price, Colette Kaplowitz, Rita Smith, David Corman, Stephen Allen Guertz, J. Guadalupe Chavez, Newt Westergren, Ansel Weisberg, Sheila Franklin, Fella Goldsmith, Burton Schnell, Samuel Cohen, Gary Trovinger, Ida Baumlu, Janet Smith, Laura Lane, Solomon Siegel, and Elizabeth Weed.
Now you can support our fellows while standing or sitting, joining us with your voices or your hearts for Kaddish Avelim, Mourners Kaddish, on page 598. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמה דברה חילותי, בימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, באמרו אמן.
אמן.
יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי עלמיה,
יתברך, בישתבח, ביתפאר, ביתרומם, ביתנשא, ביתהדר, ביתעלה, ביתהלל, שמי דקודשה, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירם בעלמה, באמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, באמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, באמרו אמן. May the memories of your dear ones be always a blessing in your life. יהיה זכרם ברוך. You may be seated.
Just a few quick announcements.
Please do, Rabbi.
Yes.
Announce.
Announce.
Yes.
Oh, you are.
Yes, we were waiting for you, Michelle.
We were.
Here, there's a microphone. Prepare for you. Right there. You can read this.
You can read this.
No, that was a sermon. We don't know where the announcements are.
I know some of them. So
Great,
I know that Torah study is starting.
It's tough when Cantor is not here, Michelle.
It is tough when
We
Cantor's
rely
not here.
on
Is Torah study
Okay,
starting
Trista
tomorrow?
Trista has the announcement.
Whoa.
Thank you, Trista. Okay, so tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. in the chapel, a new cycle of Torah study will begin. And tomorrow at 10:30 will be the bat mitzvah of Yael Beli,
Yeah, Al can't make it.
right here in the sanctuary. On Sunday at 10 a.m., we will have the delight to welcome Maggie Anton, author of a number of great books on Jewish women that are on my bookshelf. And I would encourage everyone to come. She will be signing books afterward. And at the same time, I will be co-hosting right when Maggie Anton is signing books. From 12 to 2, we will have a Get Out the Vote postcarding event on the patio. It's nonpartisan. We're writing postcards to send to minority voters in southern states, encouraging them to vote. We're basically participating in the democratic process. Please, we invite you all to come and write at least a few postcards when you have time. And then right after that, at 1:30 p.m., although I thought it was at 2 p.m., is the Lizard Show.
I thought it was at 2 p.m. as well.
Okay. The Shir Hadash Day, Noah's Ark and Lizard Lady will be here at 1:30 p.m. I thought the show was at 2, but okay. And then last but not least, next Wednesday, the Shot Committee is hosting a panel discussion of the movie called The Story of Plastic via Zoom. So when you register, you get the link to actually watch the movie. It's an hour and a half long. And then the panel discussion looks really, really interesting. So, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom Mevorach. Thank you very much, Michelle.
I really like how majority of those events are Saturday and Sunday. And that's it.
That's it. Yes.
Like in the weekends at Shir Hadash.
Are very strong. And we are in the post High Holies, so many classes and many opportunities will be starting over the next couple of days. We'll be sharing, but we are going to start our class Nashim, a remarkable Jewish woman in the Bible. It's going to run twice a month on Thursdays, and we are going to start with Shabbat lunch and learn once a month. So lots of wonderful things coming up. We'll be sharing about them. Now we would like to invite Yoav to lead us in Kiddush. We also encourage you to turn your Sidurim to page 122. And you know, this is a great opportunity to share it, but on page 122, every single Friday night when we acknowledge the beginning of Shabbat or the sacredness of the day, we actually read from the book of Genesis. We read from the first chapter of the book of Genesis, as we say, וירא באי בוקר יום השישי, ויחול השמיים בארץ וכל צבאם, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Page 123.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני
אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו, ובאו ברצון הנחילה לנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, עם כל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. Raise your cup. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. You can drink. Amen. And as we bless the day in Shabbat, we make sure that we bless each other, that we share blessings with each other. We invite you to get closer to your family, to your children, if they are here, to connect with them, and to please rise as we conclude our services on our legs. Rabbi Peter, we can adopt you. You can adopt a child also. I say, you can.
Those are choices.
Go adopt a family, Rabbi Peter. Let's adopt families. Let's make sure that we connect with each other, that we share blessings.
There you go. Jacob, there we go. You can be my family.
As we say, as we ask for the ability to be builders of a garden, to recognize not what's ideal in our lives, but the reality of what we can build on our own and together, to recognize the beauty and to recognize our challenges and to bring our best energies to finish our days, to finish many days this year, and to say that today was a good day. And with that, we think of our creations, we think of the things that we create, the relationships that we create. We tell to our children, ישמחם אלוהים כפרעים וכמנשה, ישמחם אלוהים כשרה רבקה רחל ולאה. May God inspire you to be like the fathers, the mothers, the parents of Israel. And we say to all of them, יברככם אדוני באיש מרחם. May God bless you and protect you. ירא אדוני פניו אליכם ויחונכם. May God's light shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. יישא אדוני פניו אליכם. May you find within you God's presence always, and may God bless you with its most beautiful gift, the gift of wholeness, the gift of integrity, the gift of its shalom. וישם לכם שלום. אדוני עוש לעמיו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. Shabbat shalom everyone. Shabbat shalom מבורך. יאירה ראירה ראירה. Shabbos. Yada la 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 la, yada la la la, yada la 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 la, yada la la la, yada la Chavez.